Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Paul Novak and I absolutely love saving, investing, spending, and talking about money. And that's what we're going to do today. We do financial education videos on Saturdays, which is why we're here now, and we do portfolio reviews on Wednesdays. And this week I am extremely excited to talk about dollar cost averaging. A lot of my content's geared towards beginners. I give a lot of feedback to beginners, and whenever I'm giving advice on how to invest, I always recommend dollar cost averaging. The problem I run into is people ask me, Paul, what is dollar cost averaging? And I always forget that people don't know what these terms are, and I think it is so important to understand this one, and that's why I'm making this video today. And hopefully you're learning from my channel. If you are, I'd always encourage you, smash that like button and subscribe. Comments are always welcome. If you guys have topic recommendations or questions, post it down below because that helps us make further content. And if you're interested in saving or starting investing, I've got links below. It's got a lot of free stocks, free money. It's all different accounts that I personally use to save and invest myself. And I just want to remind everybody, I'm not affiliated with anybody or anything. The only products that I share on my channel are products that I use myself and personally support. And with that being said, let's get into it. So, like I said earlier, we're going to talk about dollar cost averaging this week, and I really want to start by just explaining what the term is. It is very, very basic. And the premise behind dollar cost averaging is taking an amount of money and investing it into the market in a certain frequency. Really, you only have two different ways to invest. You can either take a lump sum, right, save up all your money, find the right time to invest, and then invest that lump sum into the market, or you can dollar cost average in on a specified frequency. You know, a lot of people will dollar cost average in either monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, right? We do it weekly just because that's when we get paid. So I'd recommend for dollar cost averaging, every single time you get paid, invest something into the market. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I believe so much in dollar cost averaging and why it is the personal strategy that I use. And I do want to remind everybody, my investment strategy is that of a long-term value investor, right? I'm not a day trader where I'm constantly moving stocks around. I'm somebody that believes heavily in index funds and in holding those funds for a long period of time and constantly making investments in. Because I believe over the long time, or the long term, not long time, but that is what will generate the most amount of wealth. And I do, if you're interested in what I dollar cost average in, I do portfolio review videos on Wednesdays. So if you come back here on Wednesdays, you will see every single holding I buy or sell on a weekly basis when I do my dollar cost averaging. All right, so before I go into the specific examples, I wanted to show you just right up here on the screen what the difference looks like between somebody that's lump sum investing versus somebody that's dollar cost averaging. Because for me, the visuals make it easier to understand. So as you can see here with the dollar cost averaging strategy, it's a lot of small payments that are made over time, versus this lump sum illustration that just shows all of the money invested right at the end. And if you notice, these investments are actually the exact same amount of money. It's not more with the lump sum or more with dollar cost averaging. It's just about when you're putting your money into the market. And now what you've all came for, the main event, the financial Royal Rumble. Over here on our right side, we've got dollar cost averaging. Fighting over here on the left side, lump sum investing. Who will win? Okay, so seriously, all joking aside, I thought that was kind of corny, but I had to throw it in the video. But I do have three examples here that are going to go through whether dollar cost averaging or lump sum investing will win. All right, I'm going to walk through three different scenarios to show the difference between lump sum investing and dollar cost averaging. And for the sake of this example, we're going to track it against the S&P 500 index. In all of my examples, we invested the exact same amount of money. The only difference is, in 2 of the scenarios, we're lump sum investing. In the other, we're dollar cost averaging. And we are going to look at investments over the course of 30 years. So the data that I pulled is the weekly average for the last 30 years. So the first scenario we're going to go through is somebody who lump sum invested into the market and their timing was horrible. Every single time they invested their money, they invested in the 30 worst weeks that the S&P 500 has had over the last 30 years. So they were trying to time the market, and every time they timed it, they lost. The second scenario I'm going to go through is Mr. Lucky. He invested lump sum into the S&P 500 index, and he picked the 30 best individual weeks that have happened over the last 30 years. And for the third scenario, we're going to pick a person that just invested $100 every single week by dollar cost averaging into the market, and we're going to see who won. What we discover when we do all the calculations, in my opinion, is absolutely shocking. So the first scenario I'm going to walk through is the dollar cost averaging scenario. And out of that person that invested $156,600 into the market, 30 years from when they started, they finished with a total of $598,000. Not bad for their investment, quite a bit of gains. The second scenario I want to walk through, which I don't think is going to come as too much of a shock, is the person that lump sum invested into the market but picked the 30 worst weeks to invest. And their investment total came out at $422,000. So they still made a fair amount of money, but at the end of the day, they ended up not finishing as good as the dollar cost averaging scenario. What really gets crazy is this third scenario. So the person that invested and lump sum invested and timed the market perfectly and put their money in on the 30 best weeks the S&P 500 ever had over the last 30 years finished with $558,000, which again is not bad, but they lost to the person that dollar cost averaged into the market. So when you actually break down the numbers, it shows dollar cost averaging is the way to go, and that's why I believe in this strategy. And a lot of people are going to ask, how in the heck is that possible? If somebody timed the market perfectly for 30 years and invested their money lump sum on the biggest days, how is it that they finished behind somebody that was dollar cost averaging? And based on the research and what I found, the answer is simple. While you're lump sum growing your money, you don't have it invested in the market, and nobody knows exactly how to time the market. So while you're saving it, waiting to invest, that money's not continuing to compound. Where the person that just blindly invests their money in every single week, their money is constantly growing, and that growth is more than what happens when the market has its swings up and down. Over time, that compounding interest still continues to win. And that's why I think when you look at those numbers, dollar cost averaging is so important. And for me, it helps me conquer one of the most difficult parts of investing. So what I've found since I've gotten started is that temptation to time the market, right? To sell out of this stock to get into this hot stock, or you hear a tip where, hey, this is going to blow up. You got to put your money in here. Oh my gosh, the market's going to crash. Pull out now, right? All of that stuff and that noise and chaos, it makes emotionally investing really, really difficult. But when you dollar cost average and you're committed to that strategy, you don't care if the market's going up or the market's going down. You literally, every single week, or whatever the frequency is you decide to invest, you stick with that strategy and put the money in. And it takes all that emotion out of it because you can focus more on your plan than you can all the noise that's going on around you, which to me is something that's really important and has helped me a lot as an investor. And if you're still not convinced that dollar cost averaging is a good strategy, I want you to think of one thing. Think of people's 401ks. There are so many people in the working world that invest in a 401k, and all that fund is dollar cost averaged your entire working career, right? You've got different funds that you're investing in, and every single time that you get paid, it takes a fraction of your paycheck out and invests it into the market. And that doesn't matter if the market's going up, if the market's going down, you just continue to invest because we've been trained in the long run, that's what's going to allow you to retire. So why wouldn't you do that when investing for yourself? And another bit of advice I'm going to give you, and I'm going to focus on 401ks again, is if you think of most people with their 401ks, they're not watching how their performance is doing every other minute. They're not constantly selling shares because the market's going down or buying more because the market's high. They're not trying to buy meme stocks to put into their 401k, right? They literally set it and forget it. Most people don't check their 401ks very often at all, but they still have them and they still continue to dollar cost average into the market. So if you think about it from that perspective, everybody wouldn't have a 401k and be setting this up for retirement if this strategy wasn't proven and didn't work. All right, so now I think I've got you sold on dollar cost averaging, or at least I hope I do. I do have to contradict myself here just one time, and that is there is a scenario where lump sum investing wins. Any guesses on what that is? It's if you have the lump sum up front. Right? The reason why I encourage dollar cost averaging is because for most people, the only way to get the lump sum is to save their money. And when you're saving it, you're trying to find the right time to invest it, which is timing the market, right? Let's say that you got an inheritance or you got a bonus check or a stimulus check, tax return. Anytime you got a lump sum that you're looking at investing into the market, I'd encourage you to do it right away. Don't spread that out over time because while you're doing that, again, you're losing the power of compounding, right? And I just refinanced my house. I got a lump sum of money, and I'll place a link to the video of where we did this. I didn't dollar cost average that in. I put that lump sum into the market right away because I want to take advantage of that compounding as soon as possible. But now that it's in, we continue to dollar cost average every single week. And I hope you guys found this information helpful. If you're interested in supporting the channel, as always, smash that like button and subscribe. Comments are always welcome. As I said in the video earlier, if you're interested in saving or investing, I've got a lot of different links down below. As I also said earlier, we do these financial education videos on Saturdays and portfolio reviews on Wednesdays. And I hope to see you back here next week where we're going to talk more about saving, investing, and spending money. Have a good weekend.